Welcome back to the High Vibe Life podcast with me, Moira Casava. I am thrilled to literally be in my home with the one and only Juju Taylor. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. You are here in Charleston.
I am.
And quite a big influencer. Somebody I have just admired and followed for years and years and years. Like literally love your content, love your light. And to have an opportunity to sit down with you today and dig into kind of everything that you do in your story is really an honor.
Feelings mutual.
Oh, thanks, thanks. So I want to start here. You are so many things. So if somebody was to ask you, I ask this question a lot in my podcast to enter, who is Juju Taylor? What do you do? Kind of who are you in the world?
I believe that who I am is I'm someone that helps women live an authentic life. And I think that's a thread that goes through everything that I do, whether it's content creation, the women that I coach, the groups of women that I speak in front of, workbooks, other things that I do. I think it's a common thread throughout everything that I do.
Oh, that is so good because as we were talking about, you were asking, you're like, what's the audience, And really, I feel like almost everyone out there, men included, but really we speak specifically to women, it is just, we want them so desperately to live their biggest, brightest life, right? Their most authentic self. I feel like so many women don't realize that what they're really looking for is authenticity. When you step into just being who the heck you are in the world, a lot of what you're struggling with, I believe, falls away. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, how in the world did you become this version of yourself? I'm sure there's a story, right? Like it's kind of two different things. Like how did you end up doing professionally what you're doing? But really the reason you are doing what you're doing professionally is because I'm sure there was this journey, right? Of overcoming, a journey of stepping into that authentic self. So can you take us back?
Yeah, sure. So I think that like most of us in this human experience that we're all experiencing for the first time every day, I think that we all have lots of things that we love to do. We're all multi-passionate. We all have 17 side hustles. I have so many side hustles. I say my side hustle has a side hustle. And so I don't think we're defined by just one thing. Yeah. I do think, especially as women, we have lots of messaging to us that tells us to play small. And over a decade ago, I remember that I was running a company at the time, and just like you, I've launched several companies, and my work outfit every day to the office was black yoga pants, a black t-shirt, and then just to make it look kind of decent, I would throw on a colorful sweater, like do a little pop of color over the shoulders, a messy bun on top. That's what I wore every day, sneakers every day. Wow. And I had a really good friend at the time. We were out to lunch, and she kind of looked at me and she was like, you design wallpaper, you have all of these products, and your brand is Julianne Taylor style. And she said, but your outfit looks like my I Give Up clothes.
Wow.
And my first thought was just like, well, no, I don't. I was like, oof, it was that feeling of just like, that was a gut punch. But to this day, I am so thankful to her because I went away and reflected it, and I was like, she's right.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't give up. Like I'm alive. I'm excited to face the day. Yeah. But what I was bringing into conversations, circumstances all throughout the day, my meetings, was that I give up. And I do think that signals to your brain that you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not able to do the things you want to do because you're signaling to yourself, I give up.
Wow.
And so I went through a whole style renaissance.
I would say so, because I know your style now, sister.
Yes. And, at the same time, I had 3 small children. Yeah. You have things that you go through in marriage, in life, with children, being a mom, that you evolve and you adapt to. And there are things that you experience that I got to a point where I was just kind of like, I don't really care that much about what other people think
Yeah.
about me anymore.
Yeah.
And that was, I'm in my 50s now, but that was in my early 40s.
Yeah.
And I just got to a point where I was tired of trying to morph into what other people expected of me. And the whole reason I wore that uniform is, one, it was easy, but two, it let me disappear.
Right.
Because I had put on a little weight after carrying 3
Yeah.
kids. I felt schlumpy. And so I looked schlumpy.
Right.
It sort of was a mirror to how I felt on the inside. And the thing that it did is it really stifled my creativity, because when you're in that season of feeling schlumpy about yourself, your brain is like, you're schlumpy. You're not producing
your identity.
You're not producing anything fun or creative. And so I remember that year I went with some friends to Palm Springs out in California. And if you've ever been to Palm Springs, it is the land of caftans and cocktails and fun and rainbows and color and all the things.
Right up your alley.
Yes. And my good friend at the time, Andrea Serrano, she also lives here in Charleston, and she had brought some sparkly turbans with her.
Ooh.
And we were trying on all these vintage caftans and going to these parties. And she was like, you need to try one of these on. She put a turban on me, and I wore it the rest of the week.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like, I'm feeling myself.
I've arrived.
This is me. And by the end of the week, I asked my community, I was like, this is like my alter ego. And I was like, we should name her. And so that is how Juju came about, was this idea of good juju, bringing the good juju. And the reality is, what started out as kind of this alter ego and a mask is actually my truest self. The schlumpy, dumpy me was the mask and the alter ego. Wow. And it was hiding all of this, I go to the grocery store sometimes and people are just like, oh, where are you going today? And I'm like,
the grocery store.
Yeah. What do you have special? What's the special occasion? And I'm like, me.
Yeah.
I'm the special occasion.
I love that so much.
And I love to see people smile, especially women, because when I give myself permission to show up unapologetically, I'm giving everyone else in my sphere of influence the permission to show up too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we can just wrap right there. That was like a mini TED Talk masterclass. That was literally, you just said so many things. So I'm so curious. I had kind of that awakening at 37. My kids were starting to get a little bit older. You're kind of over that hump. And when I say over it, I mean you're over it. Like you're over feeling like crap. You're over playing small. You're over caring so much what other people think. And for me, there was really a fork in the road and a decision. Like, am I going to take the leap? Am I going to live a big life and just forget about what people say about me or think about me? Or am I going to continue on this path? And I knew that it wasn't a bad path, but it wasn't an alive path, right?
Yeah.
It was just, I was just trudging.
It wasn't
the road.
feeding. It doesn't feed your soul. You're just existing.
Right. So I love so much though that yours happened with kind of style, right? It's like that was the shift for you. I'm curious what that felt like. Was it that you put on the new style and then the inside started to kind of catch up? Or was it the other way around? Or did it kind of happen together at the same time? You know what I mean?
I think that it started with the style and taking risks. And I remember early on, I'd have that tape recorder in my brain that was just like, that's a bit much. I'd look in the mirror and that voice would be like,
right.
Wow, that's a lot. But the more I would go out, the easier it gets to do it. And I feel like my brain has caught up to that.
Yes.
To now, I don't even, it's not even a thought if it's too much. If I like it,
if it's
I'm
too
wearing
much,
that.
It's you.
Yeah. If I like it, that's all that I care about.
Yeah.
I'm the barometer for how it looks. And I realize that I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is really important, and I know you're big on this as well, is part of this journey. This would have never happened, I don't believe, if I did not have a strong group of women around me that were busy being the wind beneath my wings and telling me, girl, you look fabulous.
Mhm.
Get it, honey. Go, girl.
Yes.
Yeah. Wear that. You look great.
Yeah.
Because when you surround yourself with
Mhm.
women that are happy to share space with you,
Yeah.
to build you up, that know that we all rise when we
Yeah.
help each other, there's nothing you can't accomplish.
I
And if I
could
had a
not
bunch of
agree more.
naysayers around me
Yeah.
that were like, I don't know,
Yeah.
then I might have also
Right.
played small.
Yeah. And I feel like, unfortunately, that's what most of us have. And not that they're bad people, but they're people that go, I'm just not sure if that's a good idea, because they care about you. And it most often comes from a place of trying to protect you or
Yes.
protect themselves,
Mhm.
right? Because they don't want to
Mhm.
be outshined. But I definitely had that same experience where, people would be like, you had a lot of successful businesses, but then all of a sudden, like, why the rocket ship? And I'm like, why the rocket ship? Because I stepped into community with other people that every time I was terrified, I would just lean in and they would push,
Mhm.
and that is sometimes hard to find. So how do you recommend? Because I know there's probably a lot of people listening that think, gosh, I wish I could find that. There's so many people in my life that are just kind of, I always say they're like wind takers. They take the wind out of your sails instead of the wind into your sails. So how do you suggest people find that?
I think I get asked this a lot
Yeah.
because if you followed me on social, I talk about my think tank a lot. And it's a group of 5 of us that are all Charleston entrepreneurs, but similar yet different in what we do. And we formed a couple of years ago out of this desire to have connection with other female entrepreneurs, and also with the same ideology that there's enough space for all of us.
Right.
And we meet every month. We do life together. And I've had lots of people say, well, how do I, can I join the think tank? And,
Right.
and I always say, I'm like, here's one rule of the think tank. You got to keep it small.
Right.
And which is why there's only 5 of us,
Right.
because we play hot seat every time we get together. We go through a win, something we're struggling with. And then the rest of us are just brainstorming. Have you thought about this? Can I connect you to this person? And it is fantastic.
Yeah.
It is life-changing because, as you know, a lot of us work from home as entrepreneurs. It can feel very isolating. So a good place to start, and I will say, if you're listening, it's not a quick fix on this.
Right.
It is going to require some time and energy on your part. But if you really want it, it's just all about your priorities. And so I want to encourage you, if you are thinking about forming some type of think tank, go to places where those people are. So here in Charleston, if there's a new restaurant that's opening, if there's a networking event, if there's a new store that's opening, I go to things, one, because I like to support our local businesses, but 2, it is a great opportunity to connect with other female entrepreneurs. Join Facebook groups that have common interests. If you are a knitting entrepreneur, join the Facebook knitting group. You may find that you're going to have other women in there that are longing to connect and have community. Now, one thing with that, you want to create a group of other individuals that are at similar levels, similar places in their careers, right? Because if you have somebody who's way up here, very seasoned and experienced, and you've got somebody who's just starting, it's great for this person down here because they're getting mentorship, which is all wonderful, but that's not the purpose of a think tank.
Right.
You want everybody to kind of be at the same place in their career so that you're leveling up together and everybody gets their needs met.
Yeah. I love that so much. And I would also add that it's uncomfortable, right? It's like you got to continually get outside of your comfort zone. One of my nearest and dearest friends, Amberly Lago, I don't know if you follow her on social. So I fell in love with her. She kind of fell in love with me just by following each other on social. And we just instantly had this connection. And, there was a lot of similarities in our stories. And I can remember one of the first times I messaged her, I was like, I just feel like we're supposed to hang out. Go for a girls' weekend. And she voice messages me back. She's like, let's go. And it's people don't think about those crazy, you just randomly message a stranger on social media. I'm like, there was such a soul connection. And she ended up becoming one of my closest friends. And we do life and we do business and we do that together. So you got to get outside of your comfort zone. And you might have to do that with a lot of people, right? Because you got to kind of find out people's vibe. You might think there's somebody you want in your think tank. And then once you start to go down that road, you realize, nah, they're not really the kind of vibe that I want. So it's almost like dating, right?
It is,
Yeah.
and you'll find out very quickly who really is your champion, who's cheering for you when you're not in the room.
Yes.
And those are the kind of individuals that you want to have surrounding you. And not only do we meet in person, but we have a text chain that is like popping
all the time.
And it's, hey, I just got this contract and it's paying this much.
Yeah.
Or would you guys have a look at that? This is a proposal I'm sending out and let me know what you think. And it's so funny. A lot of times we'll be like, girl, you're not charging enough.
Right.
You need to charge more. And it's like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And because I think for a lot of women, we undercharge.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
And so it's just so good when you can be vulnerable to be like, what do you I'm charging this. What do you think? And we're all very transparent.
Yeah.
We cheer when we get great projects that pay well. We cheer when someone's like, hey, they accepted my proposal.
Yeah.
And you should have a group that you can brag about the wins, because we certainly can't. Right. I'm not going to get on Instagram and be like, I got paid X amount of dollars for this project. Right. But in the group chat, we can.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that is so special. It's like, in those moments of insecurity, which we still have, you need to borrow their beliefs sometimes, right? But you're absolutely right. I mean, those moments, and I think anyone listening can probably think, like, how many people can you really brag to? I will never forget being at a dinner party with close friends and family right after I think I'd had my first child. And I remember saying, like, you guys, you're not going to believe it. And I was so proud of myself. I was like, I ran a half a mile. Like, I mean, and I had been a runner in the past. I was so proud of myself that I had run a half a mile that day, postpartum. And they all kind of looked at me like, great for you. And I was like,
they're like, congrats.
Note to self. This ain't my people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's those little tiny things that either land or don't land. And that's your indicator of like, are these really my people? So yeah, the circle is so incredibly important. Can we talk about, because I want to know, all the things that you actually do professionally? I know that you shared with me a journal that you have for women.
Yes.
It is literally, I mean, you're like my sister from another mister. I was reading it. I'm like, this is amazing, because it talks about the neuroscience. It talks about those daily habits. So you've got that. You mentioned group coaching. You've mentioned wallpaper design.
Yes.
What are all the hats you're wearing right now professionally?
So, I mean, I'm a creative at heart. Everything I'm involved in, there's some sort of creative aspect to it. And I'm a content creator. So you'll see me online. I work with a lot of local and national brands in the fashion and home decor spaces to promote their products. And I have a lot of joy out of helping local businesses thrive here in Charleston. So that's why you'll see me around Charleston a lot, helping them. And I work with women to help them live unapologetically. I'm helping them show up authentically, helping them know their value and worth. I work with a lot of female entrepreneurs that are systematically undercharging and also, nervous about negotiating and asking for what they're worth, what they really are worth. I speak at women's conferences, which I love to do and connect with women. And there, I'm sort of like, my barometer has two things. One, do I have joy doing it? And can I feed my kids doing it? And if those things are at play, then those are typically projects I'm going to get involved in. I do say no a lot to things. And I do have a soft spot for small businesses, especially female-founded small businesses. So I will make sure that every year I have a couple of slots available for nonprofit or things where they may not have the big budget to hire me, but I will still support them anyway, because I believe that we need to pass it on. We need to help others and lift others up. So those are always important to me too.
I love, love, love that. Oh my gosh. I feel the same exact way. It's like, if it's a yes, and I want to talk about a diagram you have in the journal, but if it's a heart yes and the money's not there, then it's still a yes. It's like, why would I not? And, when you get to a place financially and professionally in your life that you don't need to make X amount of dollars more, it's like, that's what it's all about. You can choose those speaking engagements or whatever it is, where you can really just give back, which feels so good. So will you talk about, so there's a diagram, it's like the 4 quadrants.
Mm-hmm.
Will you share that little nugget with the audience? Because I've referenced that before, and it was like when I saw it in your journal, I was like, oh, I forgot about this. This is gold. So will you share that? Because it
Yes.
kind of hits on what you just said about it being a financial yes and a heart yes.
Sure.
And how to distinguish what are we saying yes to and what are we saying no to.
Okay.
So when you are deciding on the heart yes, the heart no, what fills your cup in your heart, but also what fills your pocketbook financially, how do you, with managing your time, because we only have so much time, right? How do you decide what is the yes and what is the no?
For me, I think relationships are really important. People like to do business with people that they like.
Yeah.
And there are people that own businesses around town that have become personal friends of mine. They could call me any day of the week and be like, Juju, I need you. And I'm like, I'm there.
Yeah.
Because there's a relationship there. Those I'm more prone to whatever you need, let me know, because it always comes back.
It always does.
It always does. What I typically will say no to, prime example is I had an agency reach out to me recently to have me create content for their client. And the content, the payment was to have the product. And I said, well, I'm obviously going to have the product to create the content. And they said to me, well, the client really doesn't have a budget for influencer marketing. And I said back to them, well, they had a budget to pay you.
Right. Ooh,
and I said, I said, I called them.
Right.
This was not an email. I called them and I said, I want to help you understand because I want you to succeed as an agency too, that this is a slap in the face to me.
Yeah.
To ask me to accept product as my compensation and tell me there's no budget when I know you're on retainer as their marketing agency. And I said, and I don't know these people from Pete down the street. I said, there's zero relationship. And I said, so what you're telling me is they value your time. They just don't value mine. And I said, that's going to be a no all day long for me. I wish you and your client the best, but this is a slap in the face to me. And they said to me, they were like, we appreciate you so much for the honest conversation. I was not rude or ugly about it. I didn't hit below the belt. I was just very honest, but firm to be like, let me help you understand, like, this is a business for me too.
Right.
And in some cases, they just don't have the budget and they go away.
Right.
In other cases, that has happened before where they come back and they say, you're absolutely right. We've talked to the client. And I'm like, it's about standing up for yourself to say, I deserve to be compensated for this.
Right.
So to me, to answer your question, it boils down to those relationships.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, because as you said, it's like you have those friends that you would just do anything for, right? I'll create content for you all day long. I love what you're doing. I love your product. You don't have to pay me. But then when there's no relationship, that's a business. That's, where there has to be payment. I totally get that. Tell me more about just the process in your morning journal, kind of really what's in your morning journal, but more importantly, what you do on a daily basis. Morning process is like everything to me. If I go a few days without it, I am like a lunatic. Like my brain is just in the clouds. I can't focus. What does that look like for you?
So we are total opposites, because I know you're like part of the 5 a.m. club and all that
well,
stuff.
It's changing. As I get older, that's softening. So
I am definitely not a morning person. I never have been. I had to morph into a morning person to get my kids off to school when they were younger. And I'm a night owl. Yeah. I get energized late at night.
Wow.
I could pull an all-nighter sometimes.
That's
I
amazing.
will get my second wind at 11 o'clock and then I'm busy thinking about something. So mornings are tough for me, but I love a slow morning.
Yeah.
So I like to wake up, have my quiet time with my coffee. Yeah. I either meditate or I'm doing some kind of, guided study that I look at, or I may just be peeping out the window and drinking my coffee and thinking about the day. I think as I get older, I have been very intentional about building in time that is not full of actually doing something, but is my brain thinking and pondering and creating. as we all kind of, I'm in full blown menopause and my brain is foggy.
Right.
And so I need that quiet time with nobody talking to me, not listening to music, not looking at emails and all that stuff. I just want to ponder.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. It's so important. I remember, so I had my good friend that just wrote a book, and one of her tiny habits in the book was to eat breakfast without a phone. She was like, every day, just eat your breakfast without looking at your phone, because we don't allow ourselves.
And really enjoy it.
Yeah. And I was just driving to the airport in Park City, and the second I got in the Uber, and I caught myself and just thought, just put your phone down. Because think about when we were children on those 10-hour car rides.
You're peeping out the window.
All we would do is stare out the window and think.
Yes.
And think. And that's the creativity. That's the imagination. That's the simmering of your nervous system.
Yes.
And so it's funny that you said we're such opposites, in that I'm really not part of I used to be. I used to be crazy. But your process is your morning process. And I think that's really important for people to hear too, because to me, I always teach, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It just matters that it's working for you.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter if you get up at 11 a.m. and, have a matcha or do whatever you want to do, journal. It's that you're doing something that feeds your soul whenever you wake up, and you're doing that.
Yeah. I mean, like now my kids are teenagers. We have our oldest in college, just started this year. And so my 5:50 a.m. wake ups from elementary and middle school are now 7:10. I wake up at 7:10. I make breakfast for my daughter. We get them out the door. And then I have at least an hour to myself. And even my husband, who's extremely extroverted, who's like, you ready to talk? You ready to talk? Can we catch up now? And he knows that I need some quiet time.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to anybody. My brain is not even fully functioning.
Right.
I want to drink my coffee, and I'm all about little luxuries that 10 years ago, I would have, had coffee out of like the chipped mug,
right,
and the Holy boxers and t-shirt with spaghetti stains on it, and just been like, well, that's just what I have. Now I have very nice loungewear that matches.
I love it. I love
my
a matching
mug.
set.
I know, girl. I have my mug that has the gold rim with the J on it that looks, is like all colorful. It's my little special mug that I love. And I want to sit peacefully and really, sometimes I'll put my eye masks on, but I want to feel that sense of like I'm important and I'm worth it before I start the day.
We need to pause on this. We need to pause on matching sets. Because as I've gotten older, I grew up with a mom in our generation probably, and it's not everybody, but my mom was a Navy nurse. She grew up in a tiny little house with, I think one bathroom in the whole house. I mean, we had the same beach towels the day she died that we had when I was 5 years old. Like, you don't throw anything out. You use the raggedy whatever. And it was a real, and I'm still very much in process, evolution for me to throw out the raggedy t-shirt and shorts. Like, why do I have 18 of both when I have one set of nice pajamas? Just wear the nice pajamas every single night. Why are we saving pajamas for a special occasion? Why are we saving the teacup for a special occasion? This totally goes back to what you're talking about with your style and that major shift that changed your entire life 10 years ago.
Well, and I think the messaging that we carry from childhood and from society, I mean, even today, I brought you a Good Juju candle today, and it's my we customized the scent. It's my very favorite, but I've got cases of Good Juju candles because I love burning them. But before I light a new one, I'm always just like, maybe I shouldn't light,
Right.
And I'm like, this is my own candle. I should be lighting this every day. Why? But there's that,
you don't want to waste it. Don't
messaging of like, don't burn the good candle.
Right.
Right. And so I still
don't buy the flowers. I have a really hard time buying myself flowers. My daughter's like, Mom, we should buy flowers every week. And I'm like, but they die. And then they, it's like, why is that?
Well, it's like what we talked about earlier. All of those things, we are signaling to our brain that we are worth it.
Yeah.
And so by sitting with my little non-chipped mug with the metallic rim and my matching loungewear and all of that, I'm signaling to my brain, even if I'm not cognizant of it,
Yeah.
there's a subliminal message to my brain that I am worth it.
Yes.
And I believe that I carry that into every conversation and circumstance that I have throughout the day.
Yeah.
That I'm worth it.
Yes.
And I deserve to take up space. I deserve to be here. I have a voice. I have an opinion. And I deserve to take up someone's time and space to talk about it.
Yes. This is so good. I feel like I'm always like a doer. I am an action taker. And so I'm always like, I don't want people to just listen, right? I want them to actually put things into action. I'm going to go through my pajama drawer this afternoon and throw out the ones that have stained tanner all over them, you know, and just do a little clean out, do a little edit of the pajama drawer. We should probably all do an edit of our coffee cups as well. What else can we do to step into that worthiness? Because these really sound so little, but they're huge shifts.
Yeah, they are.
Do you have any others?
There's so many things. And like, listen, I realize that there is a financial privilege that you have when you can throw away the extra that is stained or chipped. I realize that. So I just want to temper this message a little bit that, you know, there's a privilege that comes with that. However, it doesn't matter how much money you have. Right. You can still signal to your brain in little ways that you're worth it. So it's okay if you can't go buy the expensive candle. Right. But there's something that you have right now, whether it's the fluffy blanket, it is the really nice slippers that sit in the closet because you don't want to get them dirty. You know, the fluffy blanket that you only bring out for guests. Yeah. You know, My sister is a good example of this. She divorced and moved into a new place this summer, and I went to visit her, and she goes, "Oh, we don't use paper napkins anymore around here." She goes, "I only use cloth napkins now," and she was like, "Because we're worth it. I love it. I'm using the nice cloth napkins because she lives alone. She's an empty nester.
They sit in my closet 364 days a year. They come out on Christmas, and that's it."
And she's just like, I eat dinner by myself most nights. Yeah. And she's like, this is a way to show myself that, I have to launder them, but so what? Yeah. And so
I'm worthy of taking the time to launder them for myself. Yes. Right? I love that you brought that up because I totally agree. We're not talking about going to buy $100 candle, right? Yes. You can go to Target. You can get the most adorable PJs at Target. Like there are things that you can do, and we're not even saying go buy it. We're saying stop grabbing the grubby whatever and grab the nice one that's in your closet or in your cupboards.
Like stop saving grandma's china to use at Thanksgiving. Yeah. I want to encourage you right now, if you have a chipped coffee cup, go in that pantry somewhere and find a vintage one that was your grandmother's or your mother's that you love and start drinking out of it with the saucer. Right. And I promise you, it is going to transform how you feel about yourself. And it's such a small way, but it's a message to your brain.
With the saucer. I actually just had a saucer experience a couple of days ago. So I was at a very fancy resort in Utah and they brought coffee service in the morning and they dropped it on the counter and I went into the bathroom and I literally was like, do I bring the saucer? Like,
what do I do with this extra thing?
Why is there a plate under this? You know, I'm not used to doing that. And we look at anything we got handed down. It's a cup and a saucer all the way. This is such an important conversation to have. Oh my goodness. Okay. So take us on a journey of what's next. Are you just in it and loving? I know you're loving everything that you're currently doing, but what are the dreams? What are the things?
I think, long term, we're definitely one step into being empty nesters and we have little stair step kids. So I've got a junior in high school, a senior in high schooler, and a freshman in college. My oldest is at the Citadel. And so we do get to see him when he has leave, usually on Sundays. And so my husband and I are thinking about, okay, we've got this big house for five, a family of five that in a couple of years we won't have anymore. And we want to right size, we want to downsize and travel. Yeah. I create a lot of content for travel brands. I want to do more of that. Last year, I sort of pivoted one of my businesses into launching Juju Loves on Instagram at Shop Juju Loves. And It's all around accessories and apparel that help
Yeah.
women sparkle. And I love meeting women that
Yeah.
wear our products, and they send me photos and they're getting ready for an event. And it just makes my heart so
Yeah.
happy to see that. So I want to see that brand expand and
Mhm.
do even more. I want to do some design work for that and designing my own products. I love speaking to women.
Yeah.
And so any opportunities I have for that, I always welcome to share my mindset tips and knowledge and just experience with the world with other women to really help them
Yeah.
live unapologetically too.
So good.
That's what
So
I'd like to
good.
see in my future. I'm definitely into a soft girl life.
Yeah.
I had somebody the other day that asked me if I was interested in buying this business and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, girl, I said, maybe if I was 35,
Right.
I said, but I'm 52.
Right.
I'm not interested in hustling anything.
I totally agree.
I'm into legacy.
Yeah.
I'm into the footprint that I leave behind.
Yes.
I'm into mentoring the next generation of women.
Absolutely.
I'm interested in a slow afternoon walk on the beach with my
Yes.
husband
Yes.
at 3:30.
Yeah.
Like those are the things that I'm interested
I
in doing.
totally
So
agree.
my work life, hustling, I've been there, done that. And there's a season for
There
that.
is.
I'm just not in that season right now.
Yeah. Well, and I absolutely applaud you that you can make that choice, because I think it can be hard for entrepreneurs because we get to this level where we have so much opportunity
Mm-hmm.
and we could go build this or build that. And we didn't have that opportunity when we were hustling. And all of a sudden the opportunities are there, but we know what we want more. And we can say no. That's big. That's really big. I also want to kind of just point out to the audience that this future, that you so clearly have in my eyes, like this is all happening for you. It's like, duh. Yes, this is exactly where
we're
going.
manifesting it more.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. We're sending all the good juju out to the universe.
Yes. I mean, it's in my eyes, and I will be your hype girl any day. Like, no doubt that's everything you're going to go on to do. And you wouldn't have that opportunity had you not really stepped in to that authentic version. I mean, it brings me to tears. Like, had you not made that decision 10 years ago, had you not shed the identity that you had and fully stepped into who you are, you would never have this next step. And that's so often what women miss. It's like the quicker that you can do that, the more your whole life opens up.
Well, and I say, and thank you so much
Yeah.
for that. That's very kind. And, I was speaking at a conference recently about living your life unapologetically and some of the mindset tools. And one of the images I popped up was from a group of ladies. There were 3 of them from the 1920s, and 2 were they were typical 1920s fashion, but 2 had sort of kind of plain dresses on and coats. One had like this zebra print,
Ooh, yeah, girl.
faux fur kind of situation going. And it was a black and white photo, but you could look at her and tell she was sassy.
Yeah.
And my whole point around sharing that with the audience was to say, I bet when she left the house that morning, she looked in the mirror and probably thought, I don't know what people are going to think about this.
Yeah.
And should I wear this? Should I not? And in the end, she chose to wear it. And the reality is, here we are 100 years later.
100 years.
Those women are no longer alive.
Yeah.
Right? They no longer exist on this earth. And does it really matter that she wore that coat that day? It does not.
Yeah.
What matters is that it probably brought her a lot of joy to step out and wear something that was not very typical and clearly not like the other friends that she was with that day. And I look at things like that anytime I question, and I'm like, 100 years from now, none of this is going to matter.
Right.
So you might as well live your life how you want to.
Absolutely.
Because we're not going to be here in 100 years.
Yeah.
So does it really matter?
Yeah.
Wear the swimsuit.
Right.
Wear the zebra coat.
Absolutely.
Do what makes you happy.
Yeah. Oh, so good. I love this so much. I love this conversation. I feel like Lord knows what I'm showing up to the volleyball game in tonight, girl.
I want to see some sequins, Moira.
My daughter's going to be like, what in the world, Mom?
But who have you been with today?
It's so true. It's like because I keep thinking about myself. I travel so much for work, and I always think to myself, wow, this is so interesting that I feel more comfortable in front of strangers. Like, I'll just wear whatever the heck I want to wear. They don't know me. And I'm like, why don't I feel more like that in my day day-to-day life in my home, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so we all need to take a page out of your book for sure. For sure. On that note, do you have a book? Can we read a book? Is there a book yet?
Well,
there needs to be a book.
I do want to expand the 90-day workbook and journal with other things that are sort of part of that series. And so those things hopefully will be coming. I did write a book called Design Her in 2016. And it really is my philosophy on life around lifting up other women's stories and being the wind beneath their wings. And so I think there'll be more types of materials that will come out, possibly a journal, a true journal, and some other things. But I really enjoy using those materials to supplement talking to women live. That's what I really enjoy doing is meeting people one-on-one and talking to groups of women and using those as tools for that to continue the conversation.
I love that. And I totally get that on every level. So where can everybody find you? Where's the easiest way to find all things Juju?
The best place to find me is on Instagram or TikTok at Julianne Taylor Style. And you can find all the other things that I am involved in through there.
Awesome. 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 Well, Juju, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was a joy.
It's such a joy and such a light. You are such a light in the world. And I just hope that light just keeps getting brighter. And I have no doubt that it will.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You guys, make sure you share this episode with your girlfriends. Tag us, tag Juju, tag myself. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear back from you. And we will see you next week.